We will be coming along in just a second, folks. We will be there. We'll be with you. But you're looking at some of the footage from Rosslyn Chapel. Oh, yes. Look at Joe. He's already getting creeped out with this kind of crazy music we've got tonight. We've got Scott Lopez here as well. And listen, folks, if you want to support... Coming along in just a second, folks. We will be there. We'll be with you. But you're looking at some... Where's it coming from, guys? From... Was it coming from here?
Probably from you.
Yes, probably. You still hear me, Joe?
Just fine. I hear you just fine.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, let's get into it then, shall we? Because we're back, we're live. With, as you were watching there, a bit of the Rosslyn footage that I managed to capture last weekend. I was talking about it. We managed to get it. Not sure if we can show it. We'll get into that later on in the show. But I want to thank everyone for turning up. 90 people in here already to hear the madness that we get into tonight. Need to reshape Joe's camera. His head is far too large, but that's not a problem. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing all right, pal. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very good, man. We missed you last night over on Freaky Friday. You know, not the same.
Yeah, I know, man. I missed it. But here tonight, and we have some great stuff to talk about. First of all, though, I want to talk about Scotty Lopez being here. Yeah. How you doing, buddy?
Well, hello there.
I would have said butternut squash, not pear.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll throw out to the chat room. We'll throw out to the chat room. What shape of head does Scotty have? Because we were sharing some funny stories before the show. I don't know, dude. I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But for the chat room out there, it's fairly apparent that I have a head the shape of some kind of melon or fruit of some sort. So I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. What shape is my head? And I think if we get the most responses, we'll go with that one.
Absolutely. We've got pear in the chat room. Somebody's gone for a potato. Imagine calling Scott Mr. Potato Head.
I could see that.
Yeah. No, I can totally see
if you like stick if you stick like the little legs and the hands off his cheeks and off his chin.
Well, I'll tell you what, it looks like egg. No, potato. We've had a few potatoes in there. Eggplants in there.
Oblong.
Brilliant Nancy. She just says round.
I don't know about eggplant. That's I don't know. But just to let the people know, I was telling a funny story before the show about
Wait a minute, Scott. Somebody shouted Shrek. Come on, that is wrong. Can we give that person a soft hammer? Don't kick them, folks. I'm just joking. But that deserves a soft hammer.
Hold on. If we're gonna do Shrek, then I've got to at least get into character here. Let me see. Let me see if I can find. Oh, there we go. You
look more like the Hulk, dude. Quite apt for the Avengers movie that's coming out today or whatever.
Yeah. See, there we go. No, but I was telling the guys before the show that because Kev has to do his prep before the show, and he's trying to get everyone's heads lined up in the boxes and stuff. And I said, well, you got a pretty tough task when it comes to me because I got a big melon head. And then I went into this funny story about when I was in high school in art class. We had to team up with somebody and do a portrait of them, sit across from them and do a portrait. And I got teamed up with one of my best friends. And so, how best friends always give each other a hard time. And, he was like, well, it's time for me to draw you. And I was like, well, I guess we're going to see how this goes. And sure enough, he showed me the picture. And yeah, it looked like a pear. It looked like a pear with a face on it. And so, like I said, it looks like we got a lot of pears and potatoes in the chat room. So
Yeah, I even saw watermelon. I don't get watermelon out of that. No.
People are so cruel out there. I'm telling
Yeah, that's horrible, don't they? They have such
So
a
come on,
horrible
Joe. What was your nickname in school, man?
I didn't really have one.
No? Oh, dude, that's like so lonely. Were you like, did you have like not even a nickname?
No.
Dude.
Just Joe.
I got called Blackadder for a while. My mother gave me this horrendous haircut. It looked like I had a bowl around it. There was this TV show at the time in the UK, Blackadder. That was horrendous, dude. That was the worst 6 months of my life until that grew out. Truly was.
That's funny.
Not good. I had the nickname Hot Wheels because obviously I'm in a wheelchair, right? And I that one was thrown around some, so. Okay, yeah.
Far cooler than what the chat room were throwing around. You lot should be absolutely ashamed of yourself in there, I'm telling you. No, but I want to thank you all for tuning in. If we get 3 more members today on the channel, we unlock a new emoji. I think what I might do.
Which one would that be?
I think it might be Scottish Shrek. I think I'm feeling a Scott Shrek coming on.
I can definitely see it with the little horns coming out of his forehead there. Or whatever they were. A little green?
I can't tell you. Being a fellow Scotsman, I'd have to kill you if I informed you what they really were, Joe. But we called this, we said tonight, it's all declassified, right? And I'm having a bit of a laugh because the Trumpster, he's talked about coming out and declassifying everything.
Now, when did he say this?
I think it was yesterday, dude. We'll pull it up here.
Really? Yeah, pull it up, because that's not the first time he said that. If you remember, we're going to declassify the JFK stuff. And then they declassified some of it, but it was all irrelevant stuff. The majority of the stuff that we wanted to know, of course, is still classified.
So we're not buying it. We're not going to get happy.
Throwing crumbs to the pigeons.
Scott, what'd you say, man? Come on. You're a big Trump lover, right?
I wouldn't say I'm a big Trump.
I'm just joking.
No, but anytime they say stuff like that, they're trying to throw a little bone to the people and make them think that they're going to be transparent about everything and that, I'm going to be the guy to declassify this and declassify that. But like Joe said, it's never anything that we actually want to know. And it's usually crap that we've already known to begin with, or that was kind of public knowledge already.
Yeah, right.
So, well, what it says here is, right, just the first couple of bits, this kind of sums up. President Donald Trump committed Thursday, he should be committed, to declassifying a slew of records related to the Russia probe and much more. Trump said in an interview to Fox News' Sean Hannity that he was glad he waited to declassify the documents until after the end of the special counsel investigation. He said, I thought that maybe they would obstruct it if I did it early, and I think I was right. So there you go. He's going to do the Russia probe and so much more yet. Not the good stuff, then. Oh,
yeah. Well, if you're talking about that stuff, yeah, I mean, I think I'll bet you see something because, heck, everybody basically did him wrong just to get this whole thing started on it. It's all a crock of crap. So, yeah, I think it's time for him to turn the tables. Now, the question is like, what do you do? How do you do it? Hey, there you go.
There we go. Billy Joe. Oh, I think we're one closer to getting Scottish Shrek.
That's right. Scottish Shrek. Yeah. Let's do it. 2 more and we get it.
Billy Joe's into that mud flood stuff. What do you make of that, guys?
What's that?
The mud floods in Tartaria. You ever looked into all that stuff?
Oh, man.
Have you?
I'm still diving into it now because a friend of mine at work actually brought it up. He's like, have you ever heard of this? It's really on the fringe. And
it's quite interesting, Joe.
Oh, yeah, it certainly is. But Tartaria, now there is some, because you're talking about an empire.
Yep.
A freaking empire that got erased from history. And it's in Russian history, it was like, I mean, up until the 20th century, it was very prevalent. And there was a serious, you don't want to say a conspiracy because it's more than that. They actually did it where they erased this entire empire off the face of the map, and nobody knows anything about it. But it's there. I mean, it was an empire for a very, very long time. It was bigger than China and Russia, all that stuff. It was crazy.
Yeah, the Tartar people. I mean, I'd heard of them when I was really young growing up, but then nothing more. And it was only, recently Max Egan, I think, was the first one I heard talking about it. Tartaria, mud floods, stuff like that. But yeah, it was just when I seen Billy Joe's name there. I know that's something she's interested in right now. So yeah.
That's coincidence that this week a friend of mine brought that up, and I thought that was very interesting. Like, wow. Yeah. I had heard Tartaria, but I never really looked into it. It's kind of like on the list, but
you see, that's the kind of thing they're never going to declassify, right? Because we often get into, alternative history here. There is only one real history, one real story. However, they've hidden so much of it, they're never going to declassify all that good stuff,
It's like Sodom and Gomorrah, right? You could go to Sodom and Gomorrah today, and you can see the outlines of the buildings that got destroyed, and you can see the pillars of salt that were once living things, people, and then they got the flammable sulfur balls. They're all over the place there. It's right where Sodom and Gomorrah was. You could go there and visit it. These things happen. They were actual events in history that got erased, literally erased. Now, in this case, it was God's judgment that erased them because of the debauchery and the just utter chaos and evil that was reigning over these places. And they were warned, and that's what happened. And then you take a look back further, right? So even go further than the Bible, like what you say pre-Adamite. And then you start getting into Vishnu and all this evidence over in India of, this technology of flying craft and like nuclear weapons and things like that. That's what you can kind of glean from it. But there's no way of telling exactly what they were, but all of this stuff, that ancient map that showed Antarctica as being tropical, these are all things that I believe have been intentionally erased from history because they don't want you to understand just how illegitimate the whole evolutionary theory is, and just how brilliantly interesting and rich our history really is. And all this technology and all this knowledge that was lost because of these great cataclysms that took place and knocked us back to the Stone Age each time. It's unbelievable. Yeah, Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock also do a lot of great work on that.
Well, it's funny you should bring up Hancock because I'm actually listening to his book right now, America Before America. And this takes the timeline of people on the American continent way, 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 way back. You're talking maybe over 100,000 years. And he starts off at the Serpent Mount, and he talks all about that. Then he gets into like archaeological digs and evidence. Like I'm saying, they're talking about people from the Denisovan kind of range of the species.
While we're talking about this, I'll get you some footage of or some pictures to show people of, like, for example, Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai exists and is real. And it's also coincidentally where they want to build Neom, which is in Saudi Arabia, which they want to raise that mountain. Now, you say what you want, but they have it all fenced off, and it's just an unbelievable thing. So I'm going to pull up some pictures of that, and I'll send them to you, Kev, so you can show everybody. But these places are real, and they don't want you to see them. And the biblical accounts of these things are true and verbatim in a lot of ways. And that's what just really gets me, is that I can't believe how effective, how absolutely effective they are in erasing this history. So I'm bring some stuff here and see if I can.
Yeah, well, you send that. Here's this book here I'm talking about, America Before, and this is Graham Hancock, and he's says here, wasn't advanced civilization lost to history in the global cataclysm that ended the last ice age? Graham Hancock, the internationally best-selling author, has made his life's work to find out, and America Before, he draws on the latest archaeological and DNA evidence to bring his quest to a stunning conclusion. Hancock's research takes us on a series of journeys and encounters with the specific rebels responsible for the recent extraordinary breakthroughs. In the process from the Mississippi Valley to the Amazon rainforest, he reveals that ancient New World cultures share a legacy of advanced scientific knowledge and sophisticated spiritual beliefs with supposedly unconnected Old World cultures. Have archaeologists focused for too long on the Old World in their search for the origins of civilization while failing to consider the revolutionary possibility that those origins might in fact be found in the New World? America Before, the key to Earth's lost civilization, is the culmination of everything that millions of readers have loved in Hancock's body of work over the past decades. And like I say, he's really rewriting the timeline of humans, especially in the American continent, guys. And he's also showing evidence, archaeological evidence, that the likes of the Neanderthals, they were wearing jewelry and things. You know, they weren't these kind of dumb species that we sometimes seem to think that they were. We seem to think we were the only kind of intelligent game in town, Joe. But they, yeah, they had metal skills.
It was a different version of human. It basically is how you can really kind of describe it. Is that at the time humans walked the earth, that version experienced a much richer atmosphere. The oxygen content was higher. The atmospheric pressure was different. The atmosphere was different. You look at different philosophies on how this happened. Some people say that the earth was encased in an ice dome. Other people say that it expanded with the flood once the waters of the deep were open, that you have the expanding earth model. There's so many different ways that you can look at it, but case in point, people lived longer, teeth were stronger. You know, people lived for 1,000 years. When Adam and his line walked the earth up to Noah, they lived for 1,000 years. It was after Noah and after the earth changed that the life expectancy started going down. And it's because the earth changed significantly from what it was pre-flood. That's how come dinosaurs, up until the 19th century, they were called dragon. And dinosaur is a relatively new term. And before that, the one thing about reptiles is they never stop growing. Reptiles always grow. So if you have things living a lot longer because the characteristics of the environment are different, well, then these reptiles are going to grow to enormous size, a la dinosaur, a la dragon. That's what all of these things that you hear in these stories and these myths, they're all real. All of these creatures that you hear of are experimental creatures or things created by gene splicing and technology that happened that had to be destroyed. Otherwise, there would be no human, no flesh and blood left. And yeah, in the Bible, they call them Leviathan and Behemoth, the dinosaur, the dragon. But they humans walked with them. It was they lived in harmony. We've got footprints, human footprints inside dinosaur footprints.
Yeah,
how does that happen?
Exactly. I remember Klaus Donner coming on the show and talking about stuff like that. I mean, how can you actually reconcile that in your mind? The fact that you do have these things side by side, suggesting and meaning that they were living at the same time. It totally shakes things up. All of our thoughts that we have about the past, I think we can chuck them out the window. And there's nothing new under the sun. And that's why I'm glad you brought up the kind of splicing of DNA and things there, Joe. Because literally, that's like the CRISPR of today. There is nothing new under the sun.
There's absolutely nothing new under the sun. The thing is what are people missing? The people are missing that it's Lord of the Rings. It's not millions and billions of years like they like to say. And we know this now because science is proving with getting into the whole quantum aspect of our and the structure of the universe down to these very small particles. They're coming to find out, holy crap. I mean, this was created. This is not something that just spontaneously happened.
Don't take me quantum early, Joe.
Spontaneously happened when God hit the execute button or whatever, but that's about it. That's how it spontaneously happened, you know? So do we live, you know, when Elon Musk says, you know, that he believes we live in a simulation, I guess in a way you can kind of describe it as a simulation, but it's a creation. It's God's creation. And he lives outside of that. So he's not governed by the rules of this universe like we are. He operates outside of the universe. It's just that, you know, like when we create something to live.
Well, it's like somebody that programs a computer game, Joe. You know, you've got your coders, your programmers. They're outside of the game, but they create that virtual world that's governed by all of the parameters that they set in the coding. It's exactly the same thing.
And we as creators can go ahead and circumvent that. We've got cheat codes. We got all this stuff because we operate outside of that.
Scotty Lopez, simulations. We've gone here early, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to go back to what Joe was saying about the climate being much different, you know, back then. And, you know, NASA basically kind of ended up debunking the whole climate change thing accidentally because they did a study and they found that carbon dioxide fertilization is actually greening the earth. So it's causing the forests to grow, you know, this supposed CO2 rise, which we find CO2 levels fluctuating all throughout history, right? And, you know, that's why back during the dinosaur times, everything was so huge because there was massive amounts of CO2 in the atmosphere for the plants to breathe on. And so the plants were gigantic. And when the plants are gigantic, anything feeding off the plants are going to be gigantic as well. And so that's why you had huge animals and, you know, we have this talk of giants, you know, and
yeah, they were all real.
Yeah. It's because the climate was different back then. And so, you know, we go through these cycles and, you know, for them to say, well, you know, it's just man-made climate change and we're going to destroy the planet because of it. So we need to tax you and all of that stuff. It's ridiculous because we're just going through a natural cycle. And yes, okay, man does have some effect on the climate. You know, that's the thing that always irks me. And I think that's one of the things that they that they always try to say is, well, you're a climate change denier. No,
yeah.
I'm not a climate change denier. I don't deny that we're having some kind of an effect. The debate is how much of an effect are we really having?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes. And the thing is that I don't believe man is having that much of a negligible effect compared
I don't know. You could be better stewards of the environment. There's probably no doubt about it.
Of course, I'm not suggesting that, you know, we should just pollute the planet and dump trash into the ocean and
especially with the technology we have now, right? I mean, that's the thing.
Or dump chemicals into rivers and stuff like that. Absolutely not. You know, we should absolutely do everything we can to take care of the planet. But as far as the climate change debate, it's baloney. Yeah. I don't think. And I mean, okay, so if we really do want to have a debate about man-made climate change, how come geoengineering is never discussed? How come ionospheric heaters, you know, a la HARP? How come that's never discussed when they talk about climate change? How come they never discuss their own experiments, their own, government testing when it comes to, weather modification?
Because don't let the facts get in the way of a good story, Scotty.
Yeah. So they blame the wrong people, right? They blame people that have nothing to do with it, that are really not contributing to this. And so yeah, it's ridiculous. And
well, yep. so anyway, talking about hiding these things, right? So Kev, I just gave you some pictures from a Google search. Now, this is interesting because these right here, this is where they want to build NEOM. And so you have like in front of us right here, that's the altar of the golden calf. These first two pictures. And the one on the right, that's the rock that Moses split that had the water come out. And if you look close at that picture, what you come to see is the actual water. You know how rock looks when massive amounts of water flows, it smooths it out, almost like river rock. And that's what you have here. These rocks have been smoothed out by a massive water flow that started at the top of this mountain right here. So that's some interesting things. And then, of course, another subscriber. Two down, one to go.
No, I think that's just a basic subscriber, Joe. I don't think that's like
Kieran
one of the
70
members.
In D-Live just donated a lemon. So.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Fantastic. So I'm going to look here. If you scroll down just a little bit, Kev, you'll see the actual carvings of the calf as well, just to give you like an idea. Not only is the mountaintop blackened, which is synonymous with fire, because that's how God appeared to Moses up on top of Mount Sinai, was a burning fire.
It almost looks all burnt
and
out there, Joe.
That mountaintop is charred. At the bottom of it, at the base, you have the altar of the golden calf.
Joe, it almost looks all burnt out on top of there. Just the coloring of it all,
It is. It looks black because it is. And it's the only blacktop mountain in the region. And again, the split rock, the carvings, all of it. There it is right there for you. And conveniently enough, it's right by where they crossed the Red Sea, because they found Pharaoh's chariot down at the bottom of the Red Sea. Oops.
Isn't it mad how they want to put NEOM there, though, Joe? Like, geographically right on top of this place. You've had like NEOM, that new city.
Yeah, they want to raise Mount Sinai because it's right in the footprint of NEOM. I mean, look, here you have that rock where the water, the stone actually flakes off because of the water flow, the upward water flow. I mean, you can't deny that that's what that is. And then there's the Red Sea, which, by the way, where they crossed, they actually put pillars there, like monuments, to show where they crossed, because they wanted it to be kind of like a memorial so people wouldn't forget. And then over time, they got buried or whatever. I don't know how. Well, they found them. And that's when they figured, oh, crap. Well, let's go down here with some submarines and see what we can find. And they found the three-spoke chariot wheel that was only used by Pharaoh. And it was made out of gold. Oh, holy crap. What's Pharaoh doing down there? Oops.
Do you think they knowingly chose that place to put NEOM, knowing that that's where Mount Sinai was?
I do.
Destroy it and then symbolically place that city right above it.
Scott, you could look at the destruction of some of the sites in Syria as well, when we had the air quotes civil war that was going on there. You can almost look how they're almost cleansing the Middle East of any sign of Christianity, really. Of course, sorry, Easter worshippers are called now, right?
Oh, yeah. Easter worshippers.
Anyway, so I just find it interesting that there is a serious effort now that's been renewed to erase the true history of the planet. They leave you crumbs, right? So you have like the Great Pyramid. You've got these megalithic places that they can't really screw with now. And technology's given us the ability to really kind of look in and peer as to how these things were made. And we're coming to find out that they were made with technology that even today we don't possess. You know, and that they were that the only way these could be moved, some of these stones and things, are by levitation, or even better than that, giants. You know, think about that. That changes everything. That changes everything. See, we didn't come from the Campbell's soup ooze or that alien seeding and all that kind of stuff. No way.
Remember we had Big Jim Vera on the show with Hugh Newman, and they were talking about their book about the giants.
Oh man, you just come to find out that it is a very, very interesting and special place. And there was interdimensional travel, you know, these things about the elves and the dwarves and all that. I truly believe that we had and interacted with different species. And these are just mythical representations. We tell the stories of these ancient species, Joe, if you will.
If you think of it, almost if we were on a more friendly, resonant frequency with other dimensions around us, where we were all sharing that same space at the same time. Also, you know, we've talked in the past on Freakies about communicating with the animals and the plants and the trees.
Exactly. Yep. Everybody did it. And then when the Tower of Babel was made, and God said, I have to confuse the languages. Otherwise, there's nothing these humans will be able to accomplish. And so we did. Scotty, I mean, we're at that time now. We have broken the language barrier.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and, you know, you've said many times in the past, you know, it basically was like Lord of the Rings, you know, and I think you're absolutely correct. I think it was, you know, humans were interacting with different humanoid species from other realms or whatever.
Yeah, you could say there were interdimensional pathways to them. You know, like you talk about even in Lord of the Rings, you know, you had like that secret door to get into the mountain and things like that. But these secret doors could lead to other dimensional, like a dimensional gateway or portal. I mean, these things could have actually existed. I believe they have existed. And we interacted with different species or different humanoids or whatever you want to call them, different versions of creation.
Yeah, because where do you think Tolkien got all of his ideas from to write Lord of the Rings and all of that stuff, right? I mean, so he had to base it on a lot of mythical legends and stuff like that. You know, of course, he's going to use some of his imagination for it, of course, but to write something like that, and it's got to be based in something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just like the Greek mythology, the Titans of old is all based on the fallen angels, just different stories in different languages talking about the same thing. That's what they're doing. And it's just translated different ways through the ages, different cultures. But if you look at it, the reason why the destruction occurred last time was because they were sinning again. We were sinning against animals. We were, and when I say that, I mean genetically manipulating them, splicing them, making new things, soulless creatures. And anytime you make a soulless creature, anytime you make an empty vessel, it's dangerous because that thing can be inhabited. And that's what ended up happening was these giants, they were big because these were the offspring of the Nephilim, the ones that basically they got with the human women, they reproduced, they created a race of giants, they ate up everything, and then they started eating each other. And then what happens? Destruction. Knock us back to the Stone Age. You know, and
we always get to a point to where we get extremely arrogant, and then we think that we can surpass God and that we can become gods ourselves.
And every time we get knocked back.
Or act as gods, and you know, we reach this sort of pinnacle of, you know, of advancement that all of a sudden it comes crashing down. Like we reach a threshold that we're not meant to break, that we're not meant to get past. And it seems like we're probably getting pretty close to reaching that point again, because if you look at all of the craziness going on now and a lot of the stuff we're doing, it's the same stuff that you were talking about before, Joe, about cross-splicing genetics and AI and doing all of this stuff that we think is going to take us to the next level, or we're trying to play God again.
Yeah.
And
well, then you look at Scotty. Look at this. Look at what they did in Plum Island, right? With manipulating these ticks and these are things and creations that God did not sanction, that is absolutely detrimental to humanity. And then we take it 10 steps further, because you can go and look up on YouTube the TED Talks with gene drive technology, which are basically, okay, well, CRISPR kits, those aren't easy enough. So what we'll do is we'll engineer the CRISPR kit right into the code that we're writing for this. And then it just begins to take off with these successive generation. This gene manipulation is written into the code. And it's just unbelievable.
So, Joe, do you think the AI then is nothing new?
No, I don't. I don't think it's new. Not at all. But and also, I believe that AI is Antichrist. That is what, that's a huge Antichrist. Here is the answer to all our problems, artificial intelligence, right? It's going to manage society. We won't need politicians anymore because the AI will make unbiased decisions. Everything else, it's going to be the answer to everything. And anything that takes the place of God. And that's basically what they're doing. You're taking that, and you've got churches now opening up, worshiping AI. Yeah. So, I mean, it's here. It's here.
Yeah, and then you have, like, what was it, in Japan, I believe, what was it, like a Buddhist robot, leading Buddhist prayer services or something like that. And so, you're starting to see this, like, replacement of religious figures, being replaced with robots. And I think that's the first step. They're making people feel comfortable with it by tailoring it to their religion. You know what I mean? So you'll have a Buddhist.
There we go there, Scott. Look.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it there.
See, they're bowing to it and, and all that stuff. And so you're going to, and it seems like Japan is kind of the first to embrace all of this stuff, because just their kind of religious beliefs in general, they believe like that everything has a soul, even inanimate objects. You know what I mean? So they would embrace something like that a lot easier, but then you could see how it could move from Buddhism to maybe Christianity or something like that, where, maybe down the line you're going to have a robotic AI priest, giving.
It's bad enough what these priests get up to just now, Scott, without worrying about a robotic perverted one,
what if they use that as a selling point? You know what I mean? Like, the priest will never hurt nobody or do anything wrong because he's just a robot. You know what I mean? And it's really easy to sell people on stuff. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the first step of phasing people into this thing. And then once they get people acclimated to having a robotic preacher or somebody, in their church, then they just move to the next step of, well, let's just have this overlaying AI that guides all religions that everybody listens to, and well, then there you go. You've reached that point to where you have not only the one world religion, but then you're worshiping an artificial intelligence.
Yeah, everything's moving towards the algorithm, man. Listening to a thing the other day about, I think it was a court somewhere in America, one of the states or counties, Scott, and they basically done their sentencing by algorithm. And it sounds good, right? Because it's going to be non-biased. It's not going to judge or somebody, you know, just because of maybe the sex they are. It won't have a bad day like maybe a judge might have. So they looked at this one case in particular, and it was, just for example, it was, say, a 20-year-old had been sleeping with somebody who was 16, okay? But it was consensual. So what the algorithm done was it weighed up the risk of him being a future offender, and he got something like 12 months on the back of that. But they showed you how the same algorithm would have viewed it if the guy had been 39 years old. And because of the age difference, and because of the fact he was getting on further in life, it actually suggested a shorter sentence for the guy at 39 years old. Because of the way it calculated it, and this was the way they were saying that, you know, even though you think it's going to be unbiased and it's going to be, you know, fair, you just don't know what kind of criteria it bases its decisions on. So that was one glitch that they had to get out of this algorithm.
Well, it's almost using too much logic. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't take into account human nature. It's just crunching numbers and basing its decision on just machine logic.
How can it factor in human nature and things like that?
Exactly.
You see, guys,
common sense. Because common sense, you know, if a person is judging that, would go, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is a dude that's like 39 years old and he's, you know, messing around with a 16-year-old. This dude's gonna be a repeat offender. You know, he's totally a pedo creep, you know. But that's not the way that the computer seen it or saw it. You know, it was basing its decision off of completely different logic. So yeah, I don't. That's.
I'm just going to find the actual video so people can watch this. It comes from the Royal Institute, so it's probably going to be copyrighted. But hang on. Institute. Computers rule the world. I think that's it. Yeah, I'll find it anyway. But, you know, on this kind of topic, guys, the artificial intelligence, everything else, you know, there's artificial intelligence and then there's artificial general intelligence. And that's the one that when you hear people warning about things, that's what they're talking about. Something that's literally thinking for itself. It's able to do any kind of task it puts its data sets to, shall we say. So on that kind of theme, for anyone out there who might not know, on May the 8th, I am going to be talking to this guy right here, Geordie Rose, the man who gave us that wonderful talk about the altar to the alien god and reaching into other dimensions and pulling back resources, and 3 companies later, and 9 years ahead of his own prediction about when machines would become intelligent as us. I'm going to be speaking to this guy, and we'll ask him, you know, what is the current state of artificial general intelligence? What did you mean when you said it's nothing like demons, but it's like an alien that just doesn't give a shit about you or me? What did you mean by that? Where did you get the information? Where did the inspiration come from to make all this cool and crazy stuff? So I'm really looking forward to that, guys. I think it's going to be absolutely massive. And instead of us speculating about all the things he's said in the past, Joe, we'll just ask the guy, right?
Why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be good discussion to have.
Yes. You quite? Do you think he's going to like answer our questions, Joe? Or like me and Scott suspect he's actually going to like drop a couple of one-liners that sets the internet on fire. He knows what he's saying, man. He's going to drop a couple of, I don't know, something even better than the altar to the alien god.
Maybe. I guess we'll find out, right?
Oh, hell yes, indeed, dude. Oh, hell yes, indeed. So we're not going to get the declassified history that we've been talking about then for the past little while. We're not going to see like the technology that's hidden under the Vatican art, like library and things like that. That's not coming out. So that's something else along with Donald Trump not declassifying anything. We're not going to find out anything official about our own bloody timeline. So what else have we got, Joe, in the kind of tank for tonight? I know you were providing quite a lot of links there before the show.
Well, one of them, this is kind of interesting. It says, this is Daily Mail. Has the Apollo 10 lunar module finally been found? Astronomers believe they've located NASA's probe left orbiting the Earth 50 years ago, and now they want to bring it back to Earth. How crazy is that, huh?
But what's even crazier, Joe? Yeah, how big is this? Because this is where it gets crazy, right?
4 meters. 4 meters long. Team of British astronomers believe they've located the lunar module 50 years after the crew released the probe into a perpetual orbit around the moon. It says the lunar module is one of the greatest surviving relics of the moon landing, and scientists want to devise a way to retrieve it. So that's what they're setting out to do. Kev, I'll be right back.
No probs, dude. No probs. This is quite cool, though, Scott, right? It's like I was saying to Joe beforehand. Imagine trying to look for something 4 meters long in space. You know, that's like trying to find an individual grain of sand on a beach, right? That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, I guess it could be done. I mean, if they knew the trajectory and, you know, kind of had all of the information about the path that it took, then I guess they could probably kind of narrow down where it would be orbiting at. And so, you know, I guess if they do find, you know, if they found it and they do bring it back, I mean, does this kind of put more validation on us actually going to the moon?
Well, I've always said I think we went to the moon, but I don't think we've seen what happened on the moon. What we seen was the fake bit. So it's real and fake at the same time, Scott.
Yes, exactly. That's where I sit on this too. Is that I think we went, but all of the kind of spectacular footage and photos that we seen were basically propaganda. Because, you know, we were in this Cold War with Russia, so we needed to put out some kind of propaganda and make it look much more spectacular than it really was. I think we got there, you know, and I think I just don't think like we really had any footage to bring back to show that we actually went. I think a lot of that was destroyed by radiation. I think a lot of the photographs wouldn't have been able to survive the radiation. And so there was really no way for us to actually kind of prove that we went there, even though we did, you know, but so we had to make some photographs and film some footage here on Earth.
I think it's just too risky, eh? You've got the whole world watching. You've got that whole space race going on. I mean, the Russians, imagine if something had gone wrong. My Russian brothers and sisters, they'd have been sitting there like that. Oh, and I'm not being cold-hearted, folks, but you got to take yourself back to that time. And this was the space race, right? So, and bear in mind, only a few weeks before they did, you know, go to the moon. I mean, some of the landers that they were testing, go and watch some of the videos. You know, Neil Armstrong almost killed himself before he even got off the launch pad. So, you know, you can maybe say, well, they perfected that. Or were they a bit scared that maybe that might crash on TV and the whole world would be watching? And what a propaganda victory that would be. So what you do is you get Stanley Kubrick in, you film something cool like Capricorn 1. Good film if you haven't seen it. Bada bing, bada boom. You've got a real and a fake moon landing in the room, Joe.
Yeah, you could very well. Like I said, there's a lot of pretty good footage to me that tells me we went there.
Yeah, that's what I was just telling Kev. I think we actually went, but I think a lot of the photos and stuff were propaganda to kind of glorify.
Absolutely,
Even
absolutely.
it was there was a lot of propaganda that was made afterwards to make it look a lot more spectacular than it really was.
I
So,
think, I think that this would be a great opportunity to provide a little bit of legitimacy to it. But there's plenty of legitimacy here already there to me. And there's also plenty of doctored and studio work as well to show that there was certainly a propaganda campaign afoot. We could not lose any more ground to the Soviets at that time. It was impossible. We couldn't do it. So whatever they had to do in order to show that, they did.
Yeah, and the Soviets would have done the same thing if they would have managed to get a crew to the moon. There was no doubt that the Soviets would have created a lot of propaganda photographs and spectacular footage that glorified it way more than it really was. They would have done the exact same thing because, like I said, we were in a Cold War. It was all propaganda war back and forth. Who had the biggest superpower schlong, at the time, and so it was all just propaganda campaigns basically. So yeah, like I said, it's a hybrid between the two. It was real, but it was also fake at the same time.
Makes it doubly fascinating. Absolutely. And of course, I was talking about this last night, myself and Scott, Joe. DARPA, they're launching a competition. Pardon the pun. But it's for companies to see how quickly they can deliver a payload into space. It's a top secret payload. They're not giving much away. They're not even telling people the locations where this is going to happen. And again, it's to test our effectiveness and the speed that we can deploy things into space. Now, Freaky Friday, myself and Scott give ourselves a big bit of leeway, and we like to speculate. But a rush to get off world, almost like a taxi service, Joe, a gargoyle at the Denver airport. Tell me it isn't Nibiru. Did I go there?
No, I saw a YouTube, not YouTube, on Facebook today. I saw a video or something that had to do with a space ring, and basically humanity would build this enormous space ring. I can't remember the size of it, but it was huge. And then we would live inside the space. We'd terraform this ring that we build by harvesting asteroids from the asteroid belt and then we basically have robots 3D print this thing, make this massive ring out in space, and then you start terraforming this thing. And it just ends up being like this giant. The only thing I could think of was
it's like the ring from Halo.
Kind of like Elysium. Yeah, like Elysium, like a satellite, but on a massive scale. I mean, like unbelievably big. They're talking about the International Space Station is 240 tons, and this ring would be 1 million tons. So, pretty
it's funny
big.
You say that, though, because I've seen that depicted quite a few times recently in sci-fi programs. And, programming, maybe this is the way they're going to go, gents. Maybe the ring is the idea they'll go with.
Well,
talking of rings, right? I think we might get a ring around our planet one day, Joe. They've got all that.
If first of all, if we can never accomplish anything like that with the current economic system that's in place, you just can't afford it, right? So that can't happen. You'd have to have humanity somehow sing Kumbaya, come together to embark on a mission of just unbelievable proportions. And at that point in time, if we get that way and we figure things out, then why do we need that? We don't need it. We just live happily ever after on this planet. What's wrong with the planet? No, unless there's like a pole flip or something like that. I guess then we would need that, but I don't know.
That's kind of what we were speculating yesterday on Freaky Friday. We were talking about this challenge that DARPA has put to these space companies on how fast they could deploy a payload. And of course, I went into speculation mode and was like, well, to me, it sounds like they want to figure out how to rapidly evacuate the planet, at least how to rapidly get the elite off the planet, within a few weeks time frame, in case they saw a meteor or something coming in, or that they knew that there was going to be some kind of impending pole flip or catastrophic.
Which, by the way, you have no way of predicting when that's going to happen.
Or the blue chicken's arrival. It's imminent. There's blue chickens approaching from the South Pole.
When it happens, it's going to happen so fast that how do you prepare for something like that? Okay, like a lot of people are building caves and things, right? Why would you want to build a cave? Even the Bible says that in the end days that the kings of the earth will be in the depths of the earth crying to have the rocks fall on them.
Yeah, see, so that's what we're saying. I mean, obviously, why would I'm just trying to figure out why they're pushing for these companies to have some kind of a rapid deployment launch system. And it just sounds like a quick evacuation, sort of last minute, like, oh crap, it's about to hit the fan. Let's get everybody loaded up and out of here as quick as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, the Bible even talks about in that time that the sky is going to roll up like a scroll. The heavens will recede like a scroll. How else does that happen other than a pole shift? If you're observing it from the earth, how else does that happen than like a very fast crustal shift?
Or if the atmosphere is being ripped from the planet.
From the earth, right? Yeah, that could do it too.
So if there's a catastrophic meteor strike, you're going to see the atmosphere being ripped, rolling off the earth as it spreads out.
Solar flare, would that do that too?
Yeah, solar flare could do that.
Could like boil off the atmosphere.
Yeah, and it would be just like we said. It would look like the heavens just being peeled back from the planet.
Yeah,
very interesting. Who knows? I don't know. My conspiratorial mind just says that this whole thing screams evacuation plan.
Yeah, and they do that, right? And then, of course, all the work with CERN. You look at what they're doing with CERN and portals. And
that's almost as if they want a plan B or C, Joe, where they can literally step through a Stargate,
That's what I think, Could it be? I don't know.
Who knows?
Well, let's throw the blue chicken in there first and see where it goes.
Blue chickens in the main ring at CERN. That would be hilarious, man.
Yes, dummy. The blue chicken.
If we could fire blue chickens at like Corey Good, David Wilcock, and Jordan Sather, blue chickens at the speed of light at those three, I'd be delighted, dude. I would.
Yeah.
Is it time to will we venture in for a bit of a Rosslyn Codex?
Let's do it.
We'll have a bit of the. Yeah, let's do it. We'll go there. I know. I think my mum and that are waiting patiently to see this as well. So I'll let them know. Here we go. You can stop complaining now. I'm not joking. I'm not saying it like that. But guys, this is obviously Rosslyn went there last weekend. Doesn't feel like a week already, but hey ho, there we go. So I'm just gonna bring this onto the screen here, and then we'll kind of talk about what it is we're seeing. But it was everything that I thought it would be, and a whole lot more. Let's see if we can get it. Right, hang on, I know how we'll do it. Let's go to the folder. In fact, put it there. Here we go, guys. 2 seconds. Display capture. See, this is Streamlabs, folks. You can do all this as quick as this. You just have to go down, click the link in the description, and you can get it. There we go. Put this over here for now. There. Done. Joe, you would love it in there, dude. Like I was saying.
Oh, I'm sure I would. That stuff is just the architecture alone, man. I mean, yeah. You can't. People don't replicate that level of detail. Well, you're talking about people spending 100 years building these things by hand. I mean, unbelievable.
You think about it, because I'll just bring this. Hang on. You think about it, and with the Notre Dame fire,
Yeah.
obviously, and then going to Rosslyn. So soon after that, it was just looking at that building. The instant I got there, it was so obvious that you're looking at something really, really special. And again, even the building of that's like knowledge that's gone as well, because we don't do things like that anymore, guys.
And because time is money. That's time is money.
Okay, here we go, right then. So we've got it up there, and we'll just play this. So bear in mind, folks, that you're not actually allowed to, film within Rosslyn Chapel. And of course, this was built back in the 1300s by the Knights Templar. And I tell you what, as an ex-soldier being there myself, looking at this location, Joe, this was built with, military mindset, because it was up on high ground. At a 360 kind of field of vision. This was built purposely, and it's definitely something more going on there than just a little chapel for the locals, that's for sure.
Okay.
Here we go. So, Da Vinci Code, that's made this place super famous. And of course, I think one of the most interesting features in here, and you see this in this film, it's the cymatic code that's actually up in one of the roofs. I couldn't believe it when I was seeing it. I've seen it on documentaries before, but to see it there yourself, and like I was saying to the guys, not only that, there's actually at the bottom of each of these kind of lines of musical notes, musical patterns, there's a dude or a figure sitting with an instrument. And honestly, Joe Scott, it's as if it's telling you what it is you should be playing, to actually unlock the secrets of what's in there.
Wow.
That's beautiful footage. Yeah, no doubt, man.
Yeah, it's a crazy place, man. Crazy, crazy place.
I just love all the work of the. Oh, look at that, a cat, huh?
Yeah, that's like the Rosslyn
Is that a
cat.
Cat, you said?
Yeah, it's like the cat that lives there. So, but this bit that I'm walking up towards now, if we just see it in a little moment, there's 2 pillars in there, and one was done by the main master mason that was commissioned to do this by the Sinclair family. And then when he was going to make the second pillar, they wanted a far more elaborate, kind of intricate design, so he went to travel around Europe to see other stonemasons. Probably, might even have ended up over at Notre Dame. Who knows? However, in the meantime, his apprentice mason decided, well, while you're away, I'm just going to do it. And he made this absolutely amazing kind of decoration around the pole. You'll see it very shortly. But when the master mason came back and he seen the work, he immediately flew into a rage and he murdered his apprentice.
Wow.
But what they'd done was even, there's a kind of, when you look up in that ceiling there, that's where the notes are. But so that they kind of punished the master mason or the mason that was in charge of this for eternity, what they'd done was they carved his face in stone and they've pointed it looking at the apprentice mason's pillar. And then they've done the apprentice mason at a different corner in the chapel. And good looking, all in kind of a nice light, and he's looking over at the master mason's pillar. It's a really, really kind of interesting.
Look at those intricate stone arches and all the work that goes into each one. It's unbelievable.
Well, see one of those squares that you're seeing there?
Yeah.
On that is a little pattern. And when you match that up to cymatic patterns, when you play frequencies through a metal sheet or some surface and there's sand or something on there, it goes to all that cool kind of random geometric shapes, Joe. Well, these all correspond with one of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think there's 216 of them in total. And like I say, right at the bottom of every one, there's a little...
If you can figure out what cymatic pattern matches with the note being played or the frequency being played, then you could technically decode what...
Somebody's done it, Scott. Somebody's done it. We'll try and find it in a moment. We'll actually play it. But this is the apprentice's pillar here. This is the one that got him in all the trouble. At the bottom there, guys, you were mentioning dragons, Joe. That's dragons, resting dragons around the bottom of this pillar. So
look at that. Yeah, that's amazing.
And we go like this.
These things were all real.
Yeah, why would you take so much time to like carve in a cartoon character, so to speak? I mean, look at that.
I mean, that thing is beautiful.
I think the master apprentice may have been jealous.
Oh, he was. Yeah, that was exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's exactly what done it. Because there's his one there. That's his one. I'm not sure if I pause at it. No, I go the other way. But yeah, there's something, and I know it could be confirmation bias. You know, we look at the Templars, we speak about the Templars, we talk about Oak Island. This could literally have been a pit stop on their way to Oak Island, these Templars, right? But there's something too detailed. There's something too much about this place just for it to be nothing, guys. If that makes sense.
And it's in the middle of nowhere, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
It definitely was an important site. And they wouldn't go through all of the trouble of making such detailed carvings and intricate patterns and stuff like that. You know, and for the time period, I mean, that is a lot of work that they put into that.
Oh, absolutely, dude. And like Joe said, in the middle of nowhere, Scott, it's not like there was a big parish of people there to come and see this and worship every day, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. And before the show, I was kind of like mentioning or asking you about the acoustic properties of the place. You might let everyone know, you know, kind of like what it sounds like when you speak in there. Is there like, can you hear like some resonance to your voice?
Well,
is there definitely different vibe whenever you're talking in there compared to like when you're outside or something?
Yeah, once you go down into the crypt, like I said to you, anyone talking, you can feel it. It's like, you know, the only thing I can compare it to is Chris and Cherie over in the Great Pyramid when they were in the King's Chamber and they were making the kind of omen noise in there and it was resonating. It was like that. And this was just any noise in there. It was special, the noise. It was really crisp, really clear, and not by accident. You know, we know that we're definitely masters in frequency, vibration. And again, I don't know what was going on there, guys. They say something was hidden there. There's been digs done there. I think it's still got secrets to give up to this day. I mean, look at that roof there as well. And each of those things, it's all different stuff. You know, they've got corn. Now, corn might seem, well, so what, Kev? Well, the thing was, when that chapel was built, corn comes from North America, and
oh, that's right.
Yeah, we'd never seen that.
How did they know?
Yeah, we'd never seen that. And there's also some depicting camels and obviously stories from their time in the Middle East, the Templar connection, you know. So whatever they've left there,
I think it was sort of. I think it could have been kind of like a waypoint, like where all of these different cultures were all kind of meeting together. You know what I mean? And so you're seeing it kind of represented there, right? So, you know, they say that nobody had, you know, we hadn't, or that Europeans hadn't reached the New World yet, but apparently they have, because there's representations of corn.
And that's what I mean. Think about it, like the Atlantean Empire. They were over in North America. That's why I hate to hear the New World. It's like it wasn't new. There was nothing new about it. So that's the crazy thing about the history that we're just never taught. And what a great piece of evidence to show that knowledge existed and that our history's totally wrong about this. There it is in stone. Man, it's really unbelievable that you were able to get this footage, Kev.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, we have a ice cream that has been donated in D-Live by Scruffy Art.
Very nice, very nice.
But look at that place, guys. I mean, if that doesn't strike of like Notre Dame, I don't know.
Well, it's that Gothic architecture of that time.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Yep.
And
Yeah,
there
so,
was like a serious frenzied church building.
like I say, I
during the
mean,
Dark Ages.
very rarely do places live up to expectation, right? We've all been disappointed at some time or another, but this place did. Oh, this place well met it, and then some. And I'm not just saying that to drum up tourist activity. You know, Da Vinci Code's done that all in itself. I would go back in a minute, and you know, it's funny because it's only like what, half an hour, 40 minutes drive away. It's like another world. It's like stepping into another dimension because your mind goes back. You wonder what was going on there when they were building it, the people that were building it. I don't know. It's just, it's just magical, man. Magical.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. That's some. Yeah, it just seems like something you would actually have to go and physically see and experience something like that, because video and pictures usually never do justice to something like that. You have to actually be there and experience it for yourself. So that's cool that you were able to actually visit there and get to see it with your own eyes.
Well, Scott, it only fueled my love of Oak Island Templar stuff. But I was actually reading a book about the Templars, and with everything going on in the world today, it was quite eye-opening. And of course, this is just one account, but reading about the Crusades, Joe, back in the day, when people were making their pilgrimage over to Christendom. And
Wow.
different world altogether, dude. Different world,
That the Inquisition, oh man. I mean, you want to talk about, there's a reason why they called it the Dark Ages. I mean, it was bad. The things that were going on. Look what Henry VIII did in England. Here you have a guy that just goes, and if he doesn't like his wife, he beheads her, beheads all his people that don't swear loyalty and say that he's God. So then he starts beheading his own friends and stuff like that. That's the kind of cutthroat world it was.
Yeah.
And no, really, if you think about it, is it really much different than today? Or have the times changed,
It's just that some of the names have changed. Some of the stories changed slightly. It's one of these ripples again, dude. It's like,
Yeah.
it's the repeating, the cyclical nature of the Matrix. There's only so much data in the universe. So sometimes it kind of obviously replays from time to time.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you go ancient, right? So look at all these sites like Gobekli Tepe that you look at some of this stuff and how it was built and then how it was buried. And you just say to yourself, man, we just do not know the true history of the earth. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site now. So
it should be. And remember, we're only seeing about, 5 to 10% of that whole location?
Most of it's still underground.
Why did they bury it, folks? Why did they go to all this length, back in a time when we were just meant to be grunting and hunter-gatherers and, scratching our bums and pulling things out of our hair? Not only did we build this, or people's built this, but then they took the time to cover it all in. Why?
I just found an article on it. It says documentary depicts ancient Gobekli Tepe as idol center from Abrahamic age. That's interesting. It says a documentary prepared jointly by TRT and the Turkish Development Ministry has claimed that the ancient statues in the world's oldest known temple were constructed by the prophet Abraham's father, Terah, prompting anger from archaeologists who says the claim is erroneous and misleading. A documentary was produced to introduce a cultural heritage of the southeastern province of Diyarbakir, claims that the T-shaped statue in Gobekli Tepe with the fox motif was destroyed by Abraham. It says during a part of the video in which the idol was destroyed, the narrator says, "Who can tell us that it was not Asser or Terah, the father of Abraham, who built the statues in Gobekli Tepe? Or can we claim that the temple where the idols that Prophet Abraham broke was not Gobekli Tepe?" Now, it's been dated to 12,000 years ago, well before Abraham's time. And the archaeologist and publisher, it says Nezai Baskelin said the purpose behind the move was to target Gobekli Tepe. He says within the framework of the results that were obtained through scientific method, Gobekli Tepe dates back to 10,800 to 8,600 BCE. Now, here's my problem with that is that they use carbon dating, and carbon dating's been proven to be inaccurate. But you take a look at things that, like I said, Randall, what's his name?
Carlson.
Randall Carlson, yeah. Randall Carlson goes into, and you take a look at the ice core data from the Greenland ice sheets. And right about that time, you know, you had a prior version of humanity. So it's interesting.
We need to get Randall Carlson on the show, guys.
Man, wouldn't that be great? What a great stream that would be.
Yeah, he decodes the Great Pyramid as well, I'm seeing here. I'll be up your street, Joe.
Yeah. There's so much that we think we know that we don't. And there's so many things that we've been told is gospel that just isn't, you know? And one of the few things that I got to do was go climb the Great Pyramid. And I'll tell you, it is not what we're taught it is. Clearly not. And then you look at the book of Enoch, which isn't included in the Bible. They kept that out. And you wonder why, because some of the stuff that's discussed in there. And then where did it is. There it is. So we got something coming.
Good show,
Super
chaps.
chat.
Bravo. Have y'all heard of the new law? Using humans as compost for crops in Washington. Soylent Green as people. Sucky, sucky, sucky.
I would need to see where that story comes from. I would definitely.
No, it's legit. It's legit. There is.
What? Hang on. Whoa. We're using people as fertilizer.
I think what they're doing, right? And I got to look into it, but I think it has to do with biosolids. So what they want to do is use human compost.
So they're going to take our bricks of our shit and literally spray that in fields.
They already do it, but they sell it under different names. Down in Texas, it's called Dillo Dirt. Southeast, it's called Nutrigreen. And basically what they do is they take the wastes from the waste treatment facilities, and they will either pump it out to a farmer's field who they have an agreement with. And they have two types of biosolids now because they don't call it sewage sludge like it used to be called. Now it's called biosolids.
Yum.
Better,
get that sludged out, you Joe.
And you have two classes. You've got Class A and you've got Class B. And the Class B is some pretty toxic shit. And Class A is
pretty
really not
toxic shit.
But it basically tests free of like 7 to 10 heavy metals. But that they don't test for pharmaceuticals. They don't test for anything like that. And that's what bioaccumulates in the soil. And where I started to dig into it is one day I had to have my septic tank pumped. And I asked the septic guy, I said, so what happens to this when you go? Do you have to like bring it back to a sewage facility and get is there an environmental thing? He goes, no. I'll take 5 bags of lime. I'll throw it in the top. It'll slosh around on the way to Bill Hickham's farm down the street, and then I go and I dump it there. And now my wife, now mind you, she's on opioid medication because she's a chronic pain patient, has for years, which gets excreted in your urine and your poo. And next thing you know, that stuff's going out. It's being put in the field and it bioaccumulates, albeit a very small amount. But you have a waste treatment plant that's piping it, because if you go and look, Ken Webb made that mistake one day. He goes, I was going down through Maine or someplace like that, when he was like hiking, kind of being not so much homeless, but a nomadic, if you will. And he said it was hot. And we saw there was a farmer with one of those DNA spirally sprinkler systems going, and it was just spraying everywhere. So they got under it and they're like, oh, cooling off. Next thing you know, they're like, oh man, that stuff doesn't smell so good. because it was biosolids. It was Class A biosolids that they were spraying on the field to fertilize it.
Whoa, dude!
He was
But
getting sprayed
this
with
is
poo.
the kind of shit that's resulted in scarecrows being gender confused.
No, but you wonder. Okay, so recently there was a E. coli outbreak. How does lettuce get E. coli? Think about it. How does that happen? It's easy. It's because we're taking raw sewage and we're putting it all over our crops. And of course that's going to happen. But you don't hear, it was an outbreak and we do that. But you never hear how we got there. Never hear about it. It wasn't, this illegal alien was out there taking a shite on the lettuce leaves. No, it wasn't like that. It's not. It's because they do this. So when you see that, we are already human composting. We're already doing it. So
the chemicals in the fields are making these scarecrows gay.
Gay scarecrow gay.
Hey, same thing with women on birth control and stuff, right? They pee it, they poop it. So it gets sprayed out onto the crops. So when you look at like autism exploding and all that kind of stuff, you can't look at it narrow-mindedly and say, well, it must be vaccines. Well, it could be vaccines, but it could also be attributed to what we're eating. Antibiotic resistance is up. Why is that? It's in all our food. Any of the livestock is just chock and pumped full of this stuff. Human growth hormone,
Yeah, and think about it. These antibiotic resistant, bacteria are caused by, people overtaking antibiotics. And if you're getting antibiotics that is being sprayed onto the food supply because it's went through someone's system, right? It's in these biosolids that you talk about. Everybody's,
isn't it? It's like Department of War, Department of Defense.
Everybody's being dosed with antibiotics.
That's what I mean. It's in the tomatoes. It's in the lettuce. It's in everything. So if it's in everything, of course we're going to develop an immunity to it, or it's going to we're going to develop superbugs.
Yeah, because the bacteria that's in us are going to start resisting it.
Right.
So,
and that's so hence the problem with mega farms is when you have mega farms, you want to go and you want to make things efficient. So what better way to make things efficient and help out the municipality? You get free fertilizer, and in return, the municipality gets a place to put it, which is a hard thing to do. If you look at the cost of trash removal, it is skyrocketing because we're coming to figure out we're running out of space to put this stuff, and really, doing what we've done for so long, just burying it. And it's been kind of counterproductive. Now they're starting to say, okay, well, wow, we can take the methane gas being generated from it and we can create power from it. But recycling is becoming much more important, but recycling comes at a cost because it's expensive to recycle, and so take a look at even China, right? China owns 90% of the rare earth element mines in the world. And if they do that and say, well, F you, United States, F you, UK, we're not going to sell you any stuff, and we don't care how it is. And it ruins the economy because now all of a sudden we've got to go to recycling all our electronics.
Dude, that crazy Chinese spine company, Huawei, or whatever they're called, they're doing our 5G infrastructure. Theresa May let them have the contract the other day. So
it's cheap.
Yeah, the Chinese, they own us now, dude. Not that they didn't anyway, man, honestly. But along these kind of lines, we've got another story here that you brought up from the Metro, because this is more strange kind of farm animal-related stuff that's going on, right? Because rare two-headed calf born on a U.S. farm, Joe.
Yep.
This comes from your favorite publication, right? The Metro. What's going on, dude?
I'd say there's too much sewage sludge.
You think it's some of that good stuff we were talking about?
I don't know, man. I mean, it could be just a freak of nature.
Not because of all the stories.
That's a freak of nature, all right.
But it makes you wonder what else is going to start happening with the shit that we're spraying on our foods. The crap that's coming from the sky. Yep.
You also got to wonder, electromagnetics. Could that, there's so many things. That's why it's so hard you speculate on it. You'd really have to take that thing and dissect it and see. And even then, you probably don't know. It's probably just a bad genetic mutation that took place.
If we done it in the dark of night and we done it with like laser incision, people might think it's one of these like cattle mutilation cases, Joe.
Yeah, and with 5G, it's not anything. You're not gonna. For most people, you're not gonna feel much. It's not that. It may disrupt sleep, may give you headaches. If you're sensitive to Wi-Fi in your house, you're going to be real sensitive to 5G. But it's what you do. It's cumulative over time, and it's microdosing you constantly. And we're just doing it more and more. And that could also be leading to the increases in cancer. It's not, you could say it's the crops. You could say it's that. You could say it's the magnetic field getting weaker. There's so many things. High voltage transformers. Thanks, Guy Wilson. That kind of thing, the power lines, they give off these fields that are very damaging. So, I mean, there's so many things. There's some people now in the United States that are suing the power companies because of the proximity of their high-powered lines to these houses, and everybody's getting brain tumors. I mean, there's certainly legitimacy.
Okay, then here's another one here then, fits right in. French farmers sue the state over mystery cow deaths they blame on electromagnetic fields. Are they talking about the green field they stand in or the electromagnetic field? I'm just joking. No, says here a group of French cattle farmers is suing the state over the mysterious death of hundreds of cows, which they believe are the victims of harmful electromagnetic fields. Local vets are at a loss to explain the deaths. And Stéphane Le Béchac, 51, of Brenton, a Brenton farmer of Alnuc, has lost 200 cows who died of unknown causes in the past 3 years, and he's closing his business. Now, he has identified several potential harmful sources, including a transformer, mobile transmission towers, and wind farms, whose electric currents, he says, blight the land. Quote, I noticed the voltmeter reacted strongly when I stuck it in the ground or in water, and he told the Le Parisien. He has filed a legal complaint against persons unknown with the local prosecutor, and Patrick Le Nechet, another farmer in nearby Prenessé, has lost 120 cows in similar mysterious circumstances in the past 5 years. So that's a bit weird. It really is. Now, wind turbines, we've got a lot of them over here. If it was something related to that, would we expect to see?
Who knows?
You can't tell. Again, you can't tell. It's all case by case, right?
No. But interestingly enough, when we saw this, right, the first thing I asked is, well, what's its proximity to CERN? And surprisingly enough, it's nowhere near. It's on the actual. It's probably closer. It's closer to the English Channel, which then well, what's going on there? And you look, and there's a lot of wind farms. So are wind farms causing that much of an issue? And then how does that happen?
It's very interesting, and I might have to dig into what's going on with the cattle in western Kansas if there's a huge problem of cattle dying out there, because that is cow country. A lot of the beef that we get here in the United States comes from western Kansas all the way down into the Texas Panhandle. That's all cattle country, and Kansas is now the leading state in wind production. We surpassed Iowa, so we are number one in wind energy right now, I guess. And I guess if we are, we're not seeing any. Where's the savings on our power bill? Because we ain't seeing none of that. But I mean, the wind farms out in western Kansas are huge. I mean, Kev, if you want to maybe like do an image search and just type in Kansas wind farms or something like that.
Yeah, they're huge, man.
It's the scale is absolutely massive. Yeah. And actually the wind farm fields are so huge that they disrupt weather radar.
Is that right? Is
yeah,
that
Look at
because
that,
of
man. That's horrendous, you know?
wow?
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, man. Yeah, they disrupt the weather radar. They produce these weird anomalies, and there's actually concern now, especially from the meteorologists, because they're saying it's beginning to hamper their ability to track like tornadoes.
And is that because of the magnetic field generated by all those generators?
You know, that's I'm thinking it has something to do with some kind of an electromagnetic discharge that's coming off of these.
Off the blades,
Scott,
like
get
the
this
helicopter,
right, because
you're saying?
we had Billy Hayes on the show, and he worked with Bernard Eastland on the first transmitter for HARP.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was talking about these wind turbines and also fracking as well, he says when the blades are moving past the top of the arm, the mast, it's as if it gives off an ionized particle. And it's all part of this space fence. It's like a ground component. So there definitely is, Scott. There's some kind of ionization process of the atmosphere around them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Actually, there's that link right there, right above that picture. It says Kansas claims #1 spot for wind. If you just go up, yeah, right there. That's from the kansascommerce.gov. But yeah, so and see, their excuse was the reason why they disrupted weather radars. They were saying that the radar was actually bouncing off the top of them, which is complete BS because those are not high enough for the radar to pick up on them, and the radar is located. It's a distance away, so it's not that. They just don't want to admit that these things are putting out a lot of, charged
Some
ionized
sort of energy, right? Yeah. Wow.
And so, yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely wild. And yeah, I mean, if you just want to see where the wind farms are, just like go to the.
Well, here's the thing: if it's ionized radiation, and that's basically what it is, that's the stuff that kills you. So they say non-ionizing radiation, which is what they attribute 5G and things like that. They say, oh no, that can't hurt you. But ionizing radiation.
Well,
is
Scott,
bad
you think
too.
it's bad where you are? Look at Scotland, dude.
Yeah, you guys are practically like, I'm surprised you don't like pull anchor and start going across the Atlantic with all that wind.
I mean, look at our beautiful
You guys should
country.
have like thrusters at full power with all those propellers.
There's like a flux
Yeah,
capacitor underground at this one. There's like it's like a secret base, like Dulcie, you know.
Yeah, your wind farms are reaching the same level. I mean, obviously they're going to put these things where there's lots of wind, and of course Scotland is a very windy place. Because
That's what happens when they go too quickly and they burn out.
We've had quite a few incidents of the brakes failing on those, and they spin out of control, and then they create they create so much friction, they burn up, and then they create prairie fires, because they light the field on fire, and then it
But
causes
look what they've done to our scenery. Look at that beautiful sheep. I mean, the castle.
That's a big sheep.
Well, at least in Scotland, there's some scenery to destroy. In Kansas, it's just flat, so there's not really much scenery that to destroy. But still, I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane, and I don't think they really understand. Well, maybe they do understand. But they ain't telling anybody.
Somebody in the chat room says check into James McCanney's wing generator. Ever heard of that, guys?
Never.
Huh?
Nope, never heard of it.
Look it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a little dig of that. James McCanney, was he? Did we not have him on TFR at one point? Did he not have a show?
Perhaps we did.
James McCanney wing generator. Okay. Right, here we go, guys. Here we go. There it is there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
It looks like a turbofan.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's neat. I think they need to move away from the traditional blade design that we see on these wind farms and start utilizing some of these more novel approaches.
Yeah, right.
You know, I've seen these wind generators that are really cool. That they have like a helix design, kind of like a DNA helix design.
Oh yeah, I've seen those too, man. Those are something.
And they're vertical as opposed to
Right.
spinning. Yeah, and those are really cool. I just think, I guess it all comes down to efficiency. So maybe they still think that this three-bladed traditional fan is more.
That's what we're talking about, man. This is way cooler.
Yeah, these are way cooler, and I think you just need to scale up something like this. I don't know, but I still don't think they understand what kind of
We should be pulling electricity out of the ether, boys.
Yes, exactly. Wind power is so archaic if you think about it. But think about how long humans have actually been using wind as power. It's not like some new thing. You look at those old Dutch buildings. Big wind turbine on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the windmills, man.
For a long time.
Those windmills, they catch a lot of wind, and Joe's almost looking like his sex doll face is taking over. He's muted up.
Ange sent me a video. I'm just kind of perusing through it now. But
you seen it there, though, right? You caught a glimpse of yourself. You were slipping into sex mode, man.
I was totally. I caught myself. It says, "Why is there a pedo symbol in the LA sheriff's badge?"
Oh, dude! If there's a pedo symbol in that, then that means my symbol is as well.
There's two of them.
But listen, you're taking it from that unconfirmed document that nobody can confirm ever came from the FBI.
Is that FBI one or whatever? Check it out.
It's the same as my logo. Yeah, Joe. Why would I even want to show that? It's utter nonsense.
Good one. Look at that. That's beautiful.
It's not, dude. It's not. See that FBI thing that they're showing there?
Yeah.
Well, when you actually dig into that, like where it came from, the office and everything else, telephone number rings out. Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere, dude. How convenient! How convenient it was in there, almost like a Rosetta Stone.
Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story, Kev.
I know, and people are wondering, what are they talking about? I refuse to show it, folks, because it's just gumph. It's absolute gumph. Okay, I'll show it quickly. Look, hang on. See, this is just bad. This is bad juju, Joe.
Oh, man. I hate bad woo.
It is bad woo. This is the kind of thing, that people have a go at me for because of my symbol. For the logo on my channel. You see that little
Yours is just a pyramid.
Yeah, right. But when you're mind controlled into thinking that this is all real.
It's a pyramid, Joe. That means Illuminati confirmed and that Kev's a shill. So.
I would rather go with that. I like that one better.
But this document, it leads to nowhere. You can't confirm that this was ever an FBI kind of handout. And if it was, right? If you're the criminals, would you still be using the key code that they bust in 2007? That would make you, don't get me wrong, you're a pedophile, you're a scumbag anyway, but you can't get any more stupid if you're still using these things, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, unless, maybe they forgot about it.
It's like there's this crazy woman.
Every time I've seen that supposed document, it's always been like this super low resolution. Like that's the biggest it ever is. You know what I mean?
And you don't have a good PDF of it, that kind of thing.
No. You never get a hold of the actual PDF. It's always just this screenshot that's passed around as being from the FBI. And so it's like,
It's okay. I'll be shilling for pizza shops now. It's okay. Throw it at me. It's all right. Joe,
Shilling for pizza shops.
Shilling for D-Wave. Shilling for Sanctuary. Shilling for NASA last week. Yeah.
And AI. Don't forget AI.
Oh, absolutely, dude. I bow at the altar.
I'm sure is going to get brought up, right?
Absolutely. I get on my knees.
Sanctuary's brought up, then I know you're definitely going to be a shill for the AI. So
I get on my knees at the altar to the alien god, Joe, and I put on your sex doll face. Yep.
I could totally see that too. Make sure you take pictures of that when that happens, will you?
Yep, absolutely.
Video. Almost like Rosslyn.
Maybe Sanctuary AI might sponsor the Kev Baker show after this. Maybe
Oh my gosh, they'll never stop talking about it.
I'm telling you, dude.
It'll be a hot topic for.
I'm retiring after this, man. It can't get any better than that. Musk.
You will be the bane of every tinfoil hatter out there.
I know, dude. I'm gonna be hated. I'm gonna be hated because
oh wow.
You know what?
What a slippery slope.
Hey, what can you say, Joe? What can you say?
I don't know.
What else have we got before? What else have we got? Somebody in the chat room, Kristen, Kev Baker show, you're the best Scottish shill I know. See, that's the shit there I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, boys. See? I've worked hard for that shit, man. Worked hard.
You totally did.
Yeah.
Got you there.
What else we got?
What else did we got in the grab bag?
Yes, what have we got, boys?
Robot emotions.
We've got what?
Yeah, be wary of robot emotions. This is AP News. Simulated love is never love, it says. It says, when a robot dies, does it make you sad? For lots of people, the answer is yes. And that tells us something important and potentially worrisome about our emotional responses to the social machines that are starting to move into our lives. For Crystal White, 42-year-old marketing and customer service director in Bedford, Texas, that moment came several months ago with the cute, friendly Jibo robot perched in her family or in her office.
Oh, come on. Jibo robot?
Jibo.
Oh, wow.
After more than 2 years in her house, the foot-tall humanoid and its inviting round screen face had started to grate on her.
Surely a foot tall, it's a dwarfoid.
Yeah, sure, it danced and played fun word games with her kids, but it also sometimes interrupted her conference calls. Let's see. White and her husband, Peter, had already started talking about moving Jibo into the empty guest bedroom upstairs. Then they heard about the death sentence Jibo makers have levied on the product as its business collapsed. News arrived via Jibo itself, which said its servers would be shutting down, effectively lobotomizing it.
Jibo.
My heart broke, said. It was like an annoying dog that you don't really like because it's your husband's dog, but then you realize you actually loved it all along. The Whites are far from the first to experience this feeling. People took to social media this year to say teary goodbyes to the Mars Opportunity rover when NASA lost contact with the 15-year-old robot. Now, a few years ago, scads of concerned commenters weighed in on a demonstration video from robotics company Boston Dynamics in which its employees kicked a dog-like robot to prove its stability. Yeah. Smart robots like Jibo obviously aren't alive, but that doesn't stop us from acting as though they are. Research has shown that people have a tendency to project human traits onto robots, especially when they move or act in even vaguely human-like ways. Designers acknowledge that such traits can be powerful tools for both connection and manipulation. That could be an especially acute issue as robots move into our homes, particularly if, like so many other home devices, they also turn into conduits for data collected on their owners. It says, when we interact with another human, dog, or machine, how we treat it.
A human dog?
Yes.
Cool. Human dogs. Who's
human, dog, or machine. We must treat it. How we treat it is influenced by kind of mind we think it has. This is Jonathan Gratch, a professor of University of Southern California. So when you feel something has emotion, it now merits protection from harm. So the way robots are designed can influence the tendency for people to have to project narratives and feelings onto mechanical objects, says Julie Carpenter, a researcher who studies people interactions with new technologies, especially if a robot has something resembling a face. Its body resembles those of humans or animals, or it seems self-directed, like Roomba, the robot vacuum. Yeah.
Now, Joe, myself and Nano Girl, we covered this before, and you're right. They did discover that if you put two eyes 2 arms, made it bipedal, that humans automatically treated it differently right from the get-go. It's the same as like we anthropomorphize our cars and things like that. They make them kind of look like a face at the front, and we give them little names. It's the way our minds work, dude. When we see something that's similar to us, we almost let our guard down.
Yeah, well, it's pretty interesting. Some researchers worry that designers are underestimating the dangers associated with the attachment to increasingly lifelike robots. Longtime AI researcher and MIT professor Sherry Turkle, for instance, is concerned that design cues can trick us into thinking some robots are expressing emotion back towards us. Some AI systems already present as socially and emotionally aware, but those reactions are often scripted, making the machine seem smarter than it actually is. And she said the performance of empathy is not empathy. Simulated thinking might be thinking, but simulated feeling is never feeling than it actually is.
Many humans go through life, though, simulating empathy, simulating emotions. You know, a lot of people, a lot of fake
simulate
people.
It. There's no simulating these things. So that's the problem, is that humans tend to show affection, or like the guy said, we want to tend to protect it more from harm.
But Joe, does something
that doesn't feel that way about us?
Here's the thing, though, guys. Right, Scott as well. Does empathy have to be a part of this? Almost definition of something being a life form. It's a different life form. Does it have to have the same emotions as us?
But it will have no. Okay, so while you think that this thing is emotionally attached to you,
but it doesn't matter whether
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, my point is it doesn't really matter because
it's written into its firmware to take your data and pipe it back to whoever wants it. It's a spy in your house. That's really all it is. At the end of the day, they pretend to like you, but all the while,
little Jaibo, right? Jaibo's a little spy in your house, but we're talking about the ones we're getting close to. The Westworld ones. Almost the biological ones that'll be coming next. I mean,
what keeps them from not piping data to their creators?
Well, they will be. They'll all be part of an AI hive mind, won't they? Something that will be offered with a lace. But my point I'm trying to get at is we seem to think that having empathy is something that's a trait required to be defined as alive, to be almost like a life form in its own right.
Yeah.
Well, what about, things in the sea? They're life forms, they're alive, but I mean, they don't know things like empathy, stuff like that, Joe.
How do we know?
It's no less alive,
That's the thing. How do we know? You look at how dolphins act. They're empathetic. Highly sensitive. As a matter of fact, a lot of animals are.
But viruses don't have empathy.
Yeah.
Bacteria don't have empathy.
That's right. So, but the thing is, we always look at intelligence through the lens of human, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how humans do it.
Maybe the AI is going to look at us and say it's that emotions that are holding you lot back.
That's right, and we need to exterminate.
Take the lace, boys. Just take the neural lace.
Take the lace.
You remember that was the argument that Spock always made all the time, right? And
that's right.
Because he had no emotions and he just thought with logic, and he always sort of said that was the trait that humanity had that always caused problems, right? That was always his issue with Captain Kirk, because Kirk was always acting irrational and basing his decisions on his emotions as opposed to logic. And so that was the trait of humanity that they saw as flawed or whatever. When you think of an AI or something like that could be what that could be how it sees us. That's the flaw in humanity. They have those pesky emotions.
I'm just laughing because I'm looking at the clock and we're getting close to 2 hours. So I know that Joe's mangina turns into like a Jaibo the robot after 2 hours. So We better start taking some questions from the chat room. And they look at me, he's like a kid with a new emoji. Look, go on, Joe, press another one. There you go. And one sex. Oh, we could have Joe's sex robot face for the next emoji. What do we think, folks? Show the audience what that face looks like, Joe. That's an emoji waiting to happen right there, isn't it, Scott?
Yes. I feel that being cropped out in Photoshop later on. And
So if anyone's got any questions for us before we go, type at, and then it's, I think it's Kev Baker's show. So it'll jump out of the chat room. We'll be able to see it. And we'll try and answer it before we go. This could really get a bit nasty here. We don't know what could happen here, guys. You know, they're a good crowd, but will they try to trip us up with some crazy topics here? I don't know.
throw it at us.
We're waiting. There's this delay that we're waiting for now. And of course, I just looked at...
That's right.
Joe was just doing his sex robot face, so I know whereabouts we are now. Quite disturbing that your sex robot face is like a marker.
It is. It's not good.
Yeah. Carol Motzinger, she actually posted an emoji that's disturbingly like your sex bot face.
Oh, okay.
And
I see it. That's very
Scratch
much
says,
so.
I had a weird thought a few years back, and it made me ask a lot of peeps. Like, we learn the birds and the bees, we are educated. How does every species know how to reproduce? They don't talk or write. It's just animal instinct. That's what it is, man. Yep. Same as we know whether to... Yeah.
Their genetic code telling them, hey,
Right, just a guy keeps on telling me to look up new law, dead humans as compost. I'm just not buying it. I'm going to Google it.
Okay.
Dead humans as compost. Washington. This better be a good one. It better be a good link I get on the back of this.
We got another one. Our timeline's collapsing.
Okay, hang on. This is it. Right, hang on. The timeline can collapse because, you know what? By golly, right? Whoa.
It's real? Is it legit?
Whoa. Here we go, boys. Right, I'm going to bring it up here. Oh, here. See this all block ads? And hang on. Block on. Don't run on this site. There we go. Exclude. Right, give us that story back. Right, here we go.
Did you shut off your ad blocker?
Yeah, I have now, I think.
Okay.
That
was
2 seconds.
That's yep.
Yeah. Here we go. Let's see if it works.
That's it. Support great journalism, dude.
Yeah. Washington Post. Washington passes bill to become the first state to compost human bodies.
Oh,
Whoa!
it's for so. Wow, they're composting human bodies.
Whoa!
Wow.
Right, that's it.
Anyone?
I give up, dude. I give up. I throw my hands up in the air. That sounded like something straight off the top 5 above Top Secret or my favorite hangout over at Before It's News.
I know. It almost sounded way too over the top to be legit.
Like,
but,
what the fuck are they thinking? What?
Welcome to the bizarro world we live in, man.
Okay, here we go. It may soon be legal for the dead to push daisies or any other flower in backyard gardens across Washington state. The state legislature recently passed a bill that, if signed by the governor, allows human bodies to be compost and used for mulch.
Oh, that's great.
Nice. Get the wood chipper out, Joe.
Now.
Yes, there's Joe and Popeye after the wood chipper.
Good. So we'll have some really screwed up fruit now. That's great.
Okay.
And then we'll all get like mad human disease.
Says here, we have this one universal human experience of death, and technology has not changed what we do in any meaningful way, said State Senator Jamie Pedersen, who introduced the bill, which passed with bipartisan support on April the 19th. Quote,
oh my
there
God.
are significant environmental problems with burying and burning bodies. So Joshua Trey Barnett, an expert on ecological communication with the University of Minnesota, listed the flaws in conventional burials. Who knew we were getting it wrong for so long, guys? We should be
we got it wrong,
Soylent Green.
right.
Yet we embalm bodies with toxic solutions, pesky humans. bury them in expensive caskets, pesky humans, made of precious woods and metals, and then indefinitely commit them to a plot of land. Though incineration has a smaller ecological footprint, estimates suggest the average cremated body emits roughly 40 pounds of carbon and requires nearly 30 gallons of fuel to burn. Soylent Green, ladies and gentlemen, Soylent Green.
So it all ties back. It all ties back to this crazy climate change
shit. And because of that, we're poisoning ourselves. Not only are they bankrupting us, but they're poisoning us.
As
too.
a white toxic male, I am going to offer myself on the altar to climate change and get myself spread like shit around a field.
Wow.
There you go. I saved the planet.
Boy, sucks to be Washington. Of course, all their food gets exported. And ugh.
Yeah, be careful. Be careful if you decide to smoke some weed from Washington, because
what the hell, guys? What's going on? What?
Who knows what that's going to be grown in?
Well, I take it all back, just a guy. I really did think, I thought you were feeding us a line there, dude. Wow. Just when you thought things couldn't get any more bizarre, we've started spraying humans about. Because, burying people in coffins, not good for the environment. Those polar bears, you've seen them, right, Joe? They can't swim. And you're wanting to go in a big casket? You selfish, toxic male.
No, I don't know. Who cares? You're dead.
Dude.
But I want to be fertilizer, not like that.
Maybe we'll be sprayed into another dimension as a 10% excess in resources, Joe.
Oh, my God. Just unbelievable. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got nothing I can say to that. It's the devil's work, you blind people. Dick Richards said that. Well, we're not blind, we're looking at it, dude. And I must admit, how else can you describe, actually trying to make a case for spreading people around as fertilizer? If that's not sick and dark and satanic, I don't know.
I don't know what is. Yeah, you're right.
Marijuana smoking mana, yep. We have been compromised. How do people not realize that what level of evil this takes to do it, basically? It's true. It's true. But guys, we're almost out of time. We're going to be back tomorrow, right? And of course, if you want to get a membership of the channel, click the join button. If you want to support yours truly, help me feed the family, pay the bills. I'm only joking. No sob stories. If you want to support the stream, there's heaps of ways to do it down below. And we'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have the beard. The enigmatic one who has gone off. He's gone off camera, and I think there's a thing. Popeye is not algorithm friendly. There we go. We'll just get it out in the open, and it's not that we don't say it to his face, because we say it when he's here as well. But he's just not. He's not friendly. People, they're not to be subjected to the poopster, Scotty.
No, he's not very algorithm friendly, and it is what it is.
Well, your mum's in the chat room saying on Fox News, why was Tucker Carlson talking about UFOs? It's because there's been an uptick in the sightings, and they're changing the way they're being reported. And we think that Tom DeLonge's been worked like a puppet by Hal Puthoff. He's got his hand working him like a puppet. And it's all a kind of a fake disclosure, Joe. Yes.
Poop on that.
Yeah,
let's get out of here.
It's the visual kind of thought of Tom DeLonge being worked like a puppet.
That's enough. And with that,
and with that thought, folks, yes, we shall leave you to it. We'll be back tomorrow night, an hour later than we were tonight. Joe and Popeye and Scott, they don't care about our UK audience over here. We've got to stay up till the middle of the night. Look at that face. A face like a watermelon. There you go. We'll take the show out like we began. Yes. Joe, you want to insult anyone before we go? Look at that face.
I think I'm good.
Okay, man. Guys, ladies, gender confused scarecrows, we're out of here. We'll be back tomorrow.